You are born in the winter of 1341, in a village so small it doesn't have a name worth remembering. Your father is the local executioner, and in medieval Europe, that means one thing. You are untouchable, not in the way kings are untouchable. In the way filth is untouchable. Nobody sits near your family in church. No merchant lets your mother touch the bread before she buys it. Children don't play with you. They throw stones at you. You are 5 years old, and you already know what it feels like to be hated for something you haven't even done yet. Your father doesn't explain this. He doesn't comfort you. He comes home smelling like iron and sweat, eats his meal in silence, and stares into the fire like he's watching something burn that no one else can see. You learn early that this house doesn't run on love. It runs on quiet endurance. By the time you're 8, you've already seen your first execution. Your father takes you to the town square, not to teach you, but because there's no one to leave you with. You stand in the crowd, barely tall enough to see over the adults, and you watch a man kneel before a wooden block. Your father steps forward. The axe comes down. The crowd cheers. You don't cry. You don't scream. You just stand there, and something inside your chest closes shut, like a door being locked from the inside. You don't know it yet, but that door will never open again. At 10, your father starts training you, not because he wants to, because he has to. In this world, your profession is your bloodline. A baker's son bakes, a blacksmith's son hammers steel, and a torturer's son, he learns the anatomy of pain. Your father teaches you where the joints are weakest, how much pressure a human wrist can take before it snaps, which parts of the body produce the most suffering with the least permanent damage. Because here's the thing nobody tells you about medieval torture. The goal is rarely to kill. The goal is to make someone talk, and a dead man tells you nothing. You practice on animal carcasses first, pig legs, cow joints. You learn to use the tools, the thumb screws, the iron pincers, the rack. Your father watches you with the same empty expression he gives everything. When you make a mistake, he doesn't yell. He simply says, again. That word will haunt you for the rest of your life. Again. Always again. By 13, you attend your first official interrogation. You're not performing it. You're assisting. Carrying tools, heating irons, tightening straps. The prisoner is a man accused of heresy. He's tied to a wooden frame, shaking so violently that his teeth chatter, even though the room is warm from the brazier. A church official stands in the corner reading questions from a scroll. Your father works slowly, methodically. The man screams. He confesses within the hour. Later, you find out he was probably innocent. Your father says nothing about it. He cleans his tools, packs them in a leather roll, and walks home. You follow him in silence, your hands still trembling. You're 15 now, and you start doing the work yourself. Your father's hands are getting stiff, his back is bent, and the town needs a torturer who can still grip an iron without shaking. The first time you conduct an interrogation alone, you vomit afterward, not during. You hold it together during. But the moment you're alone, your stomach empties itself onto the stone floor. You rinse your mouth, wash your hands, and go home. Nobody asks how your day was. Here's what no one understands about your job. You are not a sadist. You are a civil servant. You are employed by the local lord or the church, given specific instructions, bound by specific rules. There are legal limits to what you can do. You cannot draw blood on a Sunday. You cannot torture a pregnant woman. You cannot exceed the number of sessions prescribed by the magistrate. You keep records. You follow procedure. And every night you go home to a house on the edge of town that smells like smoke and lie, and you eat your meal alone because no woman in the village will marry the torturer's son. You are the most necessary man in town, and the most despised. There is one woman, though, a baker's daughter who doesn't cross the street when she sees you coming. She doesn't smile at you. That would be too dangerous for her reputation. But she doesn't look away either. For a few months, you allow yourself a fantasy, a different life, a house that smells like fresh bread instead of iron, children who don't carry your father's curse. But one evening, you see her father pull her inside by the arm when you walk past. The next day, she crosses the street like everyone else. You never speak of it. You never speak of it to anyone. But something in you calculates, quietly and permanently, the exact cost of being you. Years pass. You're 25. You've become efficient. You know how to read a person's breaking point before you even touch them. Some confess at the sight of the tools. You just lay them out on the table, slowly, one by one, and let the silence do the work. Others resist. For them, you use the strappato, their arms tied behind their back, hoisted up by a rope until their shoulders dislocate with a sound you will never get used to, no matter how many times you hear it. That wet, grinding pop, it visits you in your sleep sometimes. You develop rituals to keep yourself sane. Every morning before you descend into the chamber, chamber. You wash your hands in cold water and count to 20. You don't know why 20. It just feels like enough time to remind yourself that your hands can do something other than hurt. After every session, you walk the long way home through the forest path behind the town wall where nobody can see you and you can breathe air that doesn't taste like fear and sweat. Some nights, you sit by the river and watch the water move and you try to remember the last time someone touched you without flinching. You can't. You're 30 now and something is changing inside you. Not guilt exactly. You stopped feeling guilt years ago. It's more like erosion, like a riverbank slowly losing its shape. You catch yourself staring at your hands for long stretches of time. You forget conversations mid-sentence. You drink more than you should. The local tavern serves you, but only at a separate table near the back door. Even the drunks keep their distance. You are a ghost who happens to be alive. One night at that back table, a traveling merchant sits across from you. He doesn't know who you are. He's not from here. For 1 hour, you have a normal conversation. He talks about the roads, the price of wool, a storm he survived near the coast. You listen like a man dying of thirst, being handed water. When the tavern keeper whispers in his ear, the merchant's face changes. He stands up, picks up his cup, and moves to another table without a word. You finish your drink alone. You walk home. You don't go back to the tavern for 3 weeks. Then comes the year that breaks you. 1371. A wave of plague accusations sweeps through the region. The church declares that someone must be poisoning the wells. They bring you 7 people in 2 weeks. Beggars, outsiders, a widow who talked to herself. You are told to extract confessions. You know, these people have done nothing, but the magistrate has signed the order. The priest has blessed the process. And you are the hand that does what the mind refuses to question. One by one they confess. One by one they are executed. The widow is the last. She looks at you before they take her away and says, God sees you. You don't sleep for 3 days after that. You're 40 now. Your body is failing faster than it should. Your shoulders ache from years of cranking the rack. Your lungs burn from decades of breathing smoke and damp dungeon air. Your knees crack when you descend the stairs to the chamber. But the real damage isn't physical. It's the fact that you can no longer remember what a normal life feels like. You've spent so long in the dark that sunlight makes you uneasy. Laughter from the market square sounds foreign, like a language you once spoke but have forgot. You take on an apprentice, a boy of 11, the orphaned son of a convicted thief. Nobody else will take him. Sound familiar? You teach him the same way your father taught you, with silence, repetition, and the unspoken understanding that this work will hollow him out just as it hollowed you. You want to warn him. You want to say, run, find any other life. But you don't, because you know there is no other life for boys like him, or boys like you. But you do one thing your father never did. One small, almost invisible act of mercy. You let the boy leave the chamber first after every session. You make him wait upstairs in the daylight while you clean the tools alone. You tell yourself it's because he's too slow. But the truth is you're giving him 5 fewer minutes in the dark. It's the closest thing to kindness you know how to offer. You're 52 when your body finally gives out. A harsh winter, a cough that won't stop, and lungs that have been drowning in damp air for decades. You lie in your bed, alone of course, listening to the wind rattle through the shutters. No priest comes to give you last rites. No neighbor brings soup. The town that depended on your hands for 30 years lets you die the same way you lived, in silence, on the margins, unacknowledged. And here's the final truth of your life. You were never the villain. You were the instrument. Every confession you extracted was ordered by a judge, blessed by a priest, watched by a crowd. They built the system. They wrote the laws. They lit the pyres. All you did was turn the handle. But when history writes its account of this dark and brutal age, it won't remember the magistrates or the bishops who gave the orders. It will remember you, the torturer, the monster in the basement, the man with blood on his hands and no name worth recording. You close your eyes. The wind howls, and the door that closed inside your chest when you were 8 years old, it never opened. Not once. Not for anyone.